What's going on, people? This is the Black Trekker, and I am making a post this evening about a particular subject. Episodes that we enjoy watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Appreciate your support. It's the lifeblood of the channel. I want to say to you in advance that this episode is different from what I've talked about in the past because this is kind of more of a heartfelt, straight to the point message in relation to life, feelings, family, memories. So in Star Trek TNG, there was an episode called The Inner Light. And in this episode, the Starship Enterprise, commanded by Captain Jean-Luc Picard, they encountered a space probe. And the space probe was able to penetrate their shields and able to change Picard's mind so that he could experience a lifetime of a culture that was dead for like 1,000 years or so. And initially, he was like skeptical and he was a little bit, closed off and a little bit confrontational with the people, the representation of the people that lived 1,000 years ago. But over time, he realized and understood, and he started to have the discernment that this is a lesson. This is a lesson about life in general. Sometimes, as people, what we do is we worry about everything and we try to question everything and not necessarily live in the moment. And this is one of my favorite episodes about TNG for the simple fact, and it was in the fifth season, 25th episode. Back then, they used to make a lot of episodes compared to now, where they want to just do like 10 episodes for the season, which is trash. They let you know about the writers today. They're lazy. But this particular episode was outstanding because of the fact that it showed the real humanity of the character that Jean-Luc Picard was playing. I think the gentleman's name was Galen. And Galen, when it initially started, he was in his, I want to say his late 50s. And they didn't have any children, him and his wife. But what occurred is that he started to realize that his life back on the Enterprise was gone. So what he wanted to do was he wanted to start really embracing what was going on. He couldn't really embrace it because he was still fixated on his life as a Starfleet captain. But the thing is now he really took his time to really embrace and indulge in the relationship of being married with this woman. And I appreciate the actress that was in here because she really displayed the emotion that women have to go through with dealing with men that are dealing with some kind of trauma. And that speaks volumes of the women in reality that have to actually deal with this on a consistent basis. I name it like when soldiers come back from war and the wives have to deal with the trauma, the PTSD. This is the exact same thing because in this episode initially, he was quite argumentative. He was very difficult to be able to get along with. He was asking a lot of questions that seemed strange. He was being overtly challenging to his friends and his peers. But thankfully, they had compassion, empathy of him, and they let him just, continue forth. This episode was outstanding. It also showed the quality of Captain Picard. Because Captain Picard, for all intents and purposes, is one of the best captains in Star Trek and also one of the best representations of what a man should be. Because of the fact that he has qualities that we don't necessarily have in real life. He believes in he has integrity. He believes in being loyal. He believes in being a good representation of what the ideals and the principles of Starfleet really consist of. So with that being said, he is the personification of a true diplomat, a true man of distinction and quality and character. And then also he's highly intelligent. He's not lazy. He does the work. He does the research and trying to be able to prevail and expand the knowledge of the Federation as a whole. and he absolutely loves the Federation. Well, maybe love is a strong statement. I would say he has high reverence for the Federation and the overall underlying principles of what the Federation is about. So, in this particular episode, he is able to expound upon those characteristics from actually being a Starfleet captain to now just being a citizen in a civilization that lived 1,000 years ago. He was able to be able to come to that civilization and bring his knowledge and his expertise from the future to be able to help. There was a scene, and this is about another quality, selflessness. There was a scene where they were losing water. There's a drought. So he takes his knowledge, and what he does is he helps apply that knowledge to be able to sustain the aquifers. Now, at the particular moment, they didn't know that their sun was about to go supernova, and when suns are about to go supernova, they expand. They get closer to their planets that are in the Goldilocks zone, and then they heat up. And then what they do is then they suck back in, and then they explode. Well, that's what modern science says, but nonetheless, he was able to use his knowledge from the 24th century to be able to help sustain these people just a tad bit longer. And it showed the progression of his life over decades. So, like when he initially came in there, he was like in his mid 50s. And then it showed when he was like in his 80s. And the one thing about this episode that really stuck with me is live for the moment, live for today. Don't worry about what's going to happen 10 years from now. Don't worry about, trying to answer all these questions. Live for today. Enjoy your time with your family. Immerse yourself in what's going on with them. And that's one of the reason why that's one of my favorite episodes. Then also for the fact that he has this flute that he's playing. And the song is quite sombering and quite sad, but it also is hopeful of what could possibly be. And this is why, one of the reasons why this is also an outstanding episode. Some people might get overtly emotional about the episode. I still can be a little bit detached from it. I recognize that this is fictional. However, it still has a good point that it's alluding to. Now, back on the Enterprise, Riker, aka I'm not going to listen to the doctor. I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. Because, Riker, he's kind of like a loose cannon. And Worf, I want to blow everything up. I don't want to try to listen to the medical professionals. They wanted to destroy the probe, which was dumb and boneheaded. This is why you have a number two in command, and this is why you have a doctor. And Dr. Beverly Crusher was wise enough to say, no, what we need to do is we need to analyze the probe, figure out what's going on so that we don't hurt Picard inadvertently and intentionally. So that's what they did. And thankfully, but Riker kind of overruled her and they tried to pull the plug and then he went into convulsions. And then what occurred was is that Riker was like, oh, snap, I should have listened to Beverly Crusher. But of course, he didn't want to listen to Beverly Crusher because he got those little 3 pips on his collar and he think he know better. No, fool. Listen to the doctor. Or as they said in White Man Can't Jump, listen to the woman, period. So he was able to get stabilized and Picard started to function again. And then Picard was like, hey, let me build a nursery. Because Picard started to realize like, hey, I don't know what's going on, but my time might be even shorter than I thought. So let me really focus on the family component. And I like to see the progression throughout the rest of the show, throughout the rest of the actual episode. It was about family, spending time with them, laughing, joking, being thoughtful, being considerate. And that's another thing that this episode expressed was being thoughtful and considerate about the people that you love and you care about. Spending time with them is also a huge component, but also you have to be thoughtful and considerate of the people that you care about, you say you love, you say you enjoy, because you never know when they might not be here. And then shortly after, his wife was starting to develop lesions on her skin and she was starting to have to take this cream and then the doctors had to come in. And then his son, who was going through some kind of tumultuous time. He wasn't sure if he wanted to be a doctor or he wanted to be an engineer or he wanted to be a mathematician. And then he finally decided that he wanted to be a musician. And at first, Picard was against that. Rather, Galen was against that. But then he realized, like, hey, listen, our planet is dying. Let my son do whatever he wants to do. And matter of fact, a little bit before that, his daughter was talking about getting married. And he was like, seize the day, seize the moment. Because his daughter was also kind of like a amateur astronomer, and she saw what was going on with the planet. And, that's also another thing. Work with your children. Work with your children. If you have small, younger, preteen children, work with your kids. This is just my suggestion. You don't gotta listen to me. I'm just one person. But this episode is the embodiment of being a family person, being oriented around taking care of those that you love, and also helping them to reach their potential. And that's exactly what it is. The inner light. Now, what do I think the actual title means about the inner light? I think the inner light means about the spirit of those individuals that you carry with you throughout day to day life and existence, the people that help you keep going, the people that matter most to you. I think that could be considered your inner light, because if you care and you love about your family, and this episode really, it wasn't about the space probe, and it really wasn't about the memories of a dead civilization. It was really about the relationship that Galen had with his family and his community. That's at least what I believe it is. Now, of course, you guys that are watching this video, you perhaps perceive it to be differently, but just think about the context of it. Like, it was really centered around his family. It wasn't really centered around him trying to solve what was going on with the planet. It wasn't like he was trying to go to every major city and convention and talk to all elected officials. He was trying to talk to one elected official, but he wasn't trying to talk to every single elected official in the government, because they already came to the conclusion. Like the representative of the council said, we came to the conclusion 2 years ago. So that means that they already knew that the planet was doomed. But this episode was really about family. That's all this episode was about. And the time that you have with your family, the love, the consideration, the thoughtfulness. This is what it's about. So, one thing I'm going to say to you is definitely check it out. You might perceive it to be a little bit different than me. And then you got to ask yourself, what was the inner light for me? What does that mean? This is one of my favorite episodes. I got to let you know that now. And with that being said, like, share, subscribe. Like I said to you before, your participation is the lifeblood of my channel. I'm trying to grow. Always want to take constructive criticism. I'm always open to that. And I'm just trying to be able to make quality episodes about things that we can discuss as Trekkies. Because it's fictionalized, yes, but a lot of the times it has real life implications and meanings. Like this Inner Light episode. I mean, who would think that this would be one of the best episodes in TNG? 20 plus years later, and we're still talking about it. Well, actually, 25, 26 years later, we're still talking about it. I grew up as a boy watching this show. And all I'm going to tell you is that even as a grown man today, this episode has merit. So with that being said, I want to say thank you very much for taking the time out your evening to check me out and watch the episode. And I'm going to let you know that I will be back with another video about another topic. If you have any requests for topics, by all means, shoot them to me. I'm looking for more subscribers, so, and then as the channel grows, some Patreon. So with that being said, live long and prosper. Peace out.